Good evening, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good night, good whenever you're watching. Welcome to another episode of Midnight's Edge After Dark, the weekend edition. Yes, just like Weekend Update, we come to you on Saturday night.
That's right.
Yeah. Except you don't have to watch any annoying sketches by the time you get to us. So.
Just means we don't have jack shit to do, and our lives are boring as hell.
Saturday night, no dates. I picture a bunch of guys like sitting around listening to this, Saturday night. Yeah, not old enough to go to the bar, but
well, most people won't probably be listening to this till Sunday afternoon or whenever it gets up. But you know what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I am your narrator supreme, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo, and joining us for the weekend edition is Mr. Tom Connors.
How are you doing, sir?
Oh, doing fantastic. So we're gonna go over some news, some late breaking news, and we're gonna be taking some questions. Tom, why don't you kick it off for us?
As we predicted, the announcement came through that Fox has been bought by Disney, so they have acquired certain portions of their, like, say, studio, the entertainment portions and whatnot, excluding FSN and the news network, which are probably going to be rebranded. So now they can actually call themselves Faux News, like FAUX instead of Fox News. Oh, boom, boom. So really, this is big news. Like I said, we knew this was coming. We had gotten word got out pretty early that this was coming down.
And we're going to be talking about this more on a roundtable.
Right, yeah. And Andre actually has an editorial that'll probably be up before this video as well, so I'll link that down below. So he's got a lot of the brunt of the information there that we don't really need to retread here. The big news that goes along with this, though, and is going to make a lot of people excited, is Bob Iger pretty much confirmed that Deadpool will continue to be R-rated going forward.
I told you so. Not really.
We don't need to get into a bunch of that. So yeah, let's kind of, unless you had anything else to add to that, Rob, I think Andre's video kind of covers most of that stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into it so much more when we know more and in the roundtable.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty discussion coming up about this, so stay tuned for more, as they say.
Exactamundo. So why don't we just push along into the roundup?
Ladies and gentlemen, for the roundup. Well, Buckaroo, it's time to settle out that horse and head on out the barn for a roundup. Yeehaw! We talk about the Addams Family movie.
You rang.
They're creepy and they're spooky, altogether kooky. Something about Ookie, the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Actually, now we have a release date. This comes to us from Deadline. MGM has slated its animated Addams Family feature film for a Halloweenish October 11, 2019 release date. The film, which is based on the macabre clan made famous by cartoonist Charles Addams, was directed by Conrad Vernon. Was that, Deadline? Okay, Deadline, you need to proofread your shit, okay? Will be directed by...
we need to proofread it before.
No, this is on Deadline, this one.
It is to a point, but we should proofread their shit first, too.
Okay, but anyway, moving on. Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron, he's in talks to voice Gomez Addams.
Interesting choice.
In the animated feature. That comes to us from Variety.
This has some potential. It has some potential to pull in not only the classic Addams Family audience, but I think it'll pull in a lot of, like, the Hotel Transylvania type kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the Addams Family is kind of a cartoonish kind of idea, too, so it's...
Well, it originally was a comic cartoon, yeah. Before it became a play and television show and several features and so on.
This comes to us from Variety. Europa Corp, the people behind Valerian, posts a half-year loss of $83 million. Luc Besson's Europa Corp has posted a loss of $83 million. That is 70.6 million euros for people who use euros.
We do have a bit of an international audience.
Yeah, we do. Anyway, that was for the first half of its 2017-2018 financial year. The loss figure is nearly 3 times higher than it was during the same period of the last financial year, which culminated in record losses of $135 million. Europa Corp primarily blamed the results on the poor theatrical performance of its movies it distributed in the U.S., notably The Circle, Their Finest, as well as the disappointing U.S. box office revenues for the sci-fi epic Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, the report said. Some other news. Apple TV is making a pitch to become a series player. Apple gives straight to series order to drama from Outlander showrunner. Rum. This comes from
rum for Rob.
This comes to us from Variety. Ronald D. Moore has scored a straight to series order at Apple with a new sci-fi drama. Variety has confirmed the untitled series takes place in a world which the global space race never ended.
In a world
where the global space race has never ended. One man. Okay. Deep voice guy. Moore co-created the series with Matt Wolpert and Ben Nadivi. All three will also executive produce along with Meryl Davis of Moore's Tall Ship Productions. Sony Pictures Television will produce with Tall Ship. Moore is currently the showrunner on the hit Starz series Outlander. He's also well known in sci-fi circles, having previously developed the new version of Battlestar Galactica that aired on Sci-Fi Channel. Now Syfy. That's SYFY. That's Syfy. Okay.
That is the dumbest shit ever.
Well, they did that because they couldn't copyright sci-fi.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Well, anyways, he had that show Battlestar Galactica for 4 seasons. He has also worked on Star Trek: The Next Generation, Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek: Voyager. So it seems like everyone who previously worked on Star Trek is not working on Star Trek, and people who should be working on Star Trek aren't, and the people who have no business working on Star Trek are these days.
And for more on that, see Rob's Trek logs.
Yes, please see the Trek log. And today, actually, we're going to be wishing people happy birthday from Friday, December 15th. Actor Tim Conway was born on December 15th in 1933.
Great comedian.
Oh, yes, great staple of the Carol Burnett Show.
Yes.
Films with Don Knotts. Daredevil, Charlie Cox.
Yep.
He celebrates a birthday. Actress Helen Slater. You know her as Supergirl and from The Legend of Billie Jean. And actor Don Johnson, or as I call him, John Donson. he turns 68. And celebrating birthdays on December 16th, we have, speaking of people involved with the Marvel Netflix series, Kristen Ritter, who plays Jessica Jones. She turns 36.
Back-to-back birthdays.
Yes, Miranda Otto. Now, if you don't recognize that name, she played Éowyn in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Science fiction writer Philip K. Dick, best known for Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, was born...
Which, of course, was the basis for Blade Runner.
Yes, it was. Was born on December 16th, 1923. Arthur C. Clarke, best known for 2001, was born in 1917. Actor Benjamin Bratt turns 54. Shane Black was born this day in 1961. Actor, director, writer of Iron Man 3. Director, writer and actor in Predator, Lethal Weapon, he wrote. And James Mangold was born on this day, December 16th, 1963. You know him as the writer, director of Walk the Line, Logan, and Wolverine. And December 17th, we throw a shout-out happy birthday to Mila Jovovich, who turns 42.
Who Andre says so much better.
Mila Jovovich.
Jovovich.
I'm sorry, my accent is terrible. Actor Bill Pullman turns 64. Actor Giovanni Ribisi turns 43.
I like him. He doesn't do enough.
Yeah, he doesn't do enough. He's not bad. I like him. Also, we definitely like Ernie Hudson. Big shout out. Okay, we're gonna have to pay a royalty now.
Oh, to who though? Huey Lewis or to Ray Parker?
To probably. That's a good question. If you people don't get that joke, look up Huey Lewis, Ray Parker
versus Ray Parker Jr.
Actor Eugene Levy from American Pie and from A Mighty Wind and from
SCTV.
Best in Show, SCTV. Also in quite a few movies with John Candy and other...
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yes.
Tons.
Splash. He turned 71. And Bernard Lee, and if you don't recognize that name, again, another Lord of the Rings alumnus. He played King Éomer. No, he played the He played the king in Lord of the Rings.
A lot of Lord of the Rings birthdays,
yes,
too.
He turned 73. So anyway, those are people celebrating birthdays. And if you're celebrating a birthday out there, happy birthday. So, Tom, do we have any questions from our loyal audience? Our loyal and good-looking audience, I should say.
Well, we do have one from our email, which you can send us an email at midnightsedgeafterdark, all one word, at gmail.com. And this one is from BC Big Oso Ya. I hope I said that right. Hello, guys. This is Anthony from Washington. Actually, his name's Anthony, so we'll just call him Anthony. That's so much better. My question is, he's from D.C., Washington, D.C., I should be more specific. With the pending purchase of 21st Century, which actually went down between the time he sent us this question and now, would it be wise for the MCU to cram either the X-Men or the Fantastic Four properties into the Avengers 4 movie? Of course, a lot of this kind of stuff is going to be touched on in the roundtable and in Andre's video. Just to kind of do a quick version of this, I don't think they're going to cram them in, per se. They'll put a plan in place, but it's going to be a little bit farther down the line than we're probably all anticipating. What do you think, Rob?
I think it's too late. I think it's too late to do that for Avengers 4. They've already been added to the flowchart, really. So.
Well, I'm sure they're being worked in, yeah.
As we speak. So, but I think it's too late already because they shot them back to back, didn't they?
I think that if they're not done, they're just about done filming what has been supposedly leaked to be called Infinity Gauntlet. So as far as I know, they're either done or pretty much done, yeah. And chances are they're still going to release Dark Phoenix, considering I think that's almost done filming or just finished filming.
Yeah.
And we already know New Mutants is due out in April, and Deadpool 2 is due out in June, and those two are definitely coming out as far as we know. And these kind of acquisitions take time.
Yeah.
It's going to take time for all this stuff, to go through, so they can't really jump too many guns until everything's kind of finalized.
Yeah. It's going to be a while before we start seeing the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, or Deadpool appearing in Marvel movies. It's too late right now for anything to happen with Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War 2, or whatever you want to call it. But you can be rest assured there's plans already in the works.
Like I say, I've said it before. I think they're just going to sprinkle in X-Men here and there throughout a few various films coming up down the road, and then eventually they'll build into that. As far as the Fantastic Four, that's trickier ground. Not quite sure how they'll handle that one.
Well, I said a good jumping off point would be making Beast an Avenger, because he was an Avenger. So that would be a good way to sort of grandfather them in. But like I said, it's going to be a while. Let's jump right to the Facebook group, actually, for a couple questions. Matt Weiss. Good buddy Matt Weiss.
Our good friend.
How royally fucked is Warner Brothers right now? They are sitting on top of a very large shit sundae right now. So,
well, Warner Brothers as a whole is fine. DC is fucked.
Yeah.
Because Warner Brothers had a record year. Now, as far as their upper management, we know shit's going to happen there. We touch on a lot of this in our Justice League roundtable, which I'll post the link for down below. And I think even, I think it was even in the Justice League documentary or whatever before that, to the postmortem. So you can listen to a lot of that, as far as that's pretty much a good explanation of where Warner Brothers is at right now. Rob?
Yeah. So Warner Brothers is doing fine. The DC Cinematic Universe is royally screwed. That's the thing.
If your name's not Wonder Woman, yeah.
And Warner Brothers is such a much larger company than just DC movies. I mean, Warner Music is huge.
Unless this merger goes through, that's a different story. Well, they do a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Big Bang Theory.
Oh my God.
The DC shows.
Yeah. They also have The Middle, Blind Spot, Trial and Error, Big Bang Theory, Mom, Gotham, Lethal Weapon, Lucifer... The 100, Arrow, DC Legends of Tomorrow, Flash, iZombie, the originals, Riverdale, Supergirl, Supernatural, Major Crimes, Shameless. They do for Showtime. They have a stake in Castle Rock.
It's Rob Reiner's company, and they do a lot of shit, especially a lot of Stephen King related stuff. But yeah, they do a lot of television as well.
Young Sheldon. I mean, they have a boatload of stuff. They do DC animated movies, which actually does pretty well for them.
Yeah. Well, and they're starting their own DC streaming service here soon as well. So, I mean, that part of it's okay, but the movies themselves aren't.
And actually, check out this first run series distributed by Warner Brothers Domestic Television Distribution. The Ellen DeGeneres Show, TMZ, TMZ Live, Extra, The Real, Judge Mathis, The People's Court, Crime Watch Daily, with Chris Hansen. They distribute Big Bang Theory in syndication, 2.5 Men, Two Broke Girls, Friends, Mike and Molly, The Middle, and Mom. Well, those are a large chunk of their syndicated programs. So Warner Brothers is going to be fine, like I said. But they may just choose to jettison the DC cinematic universe. So
Right. It's not like they don't have other franchises.
Yeah.
They've got tons of other shit that they can draw from that they don't need to rely on the superheroes. It's just, as far as a cinematic universe, they're going to shy away from that, I bet. It's just going to be more standalone type features and whatnot. So yeah, let's move on to the next question, though.
Rianne asks, Rianne from our Facebook group, how long do you think Disney's been planning to make this move, and how many contingency plans do you think they've got? I think that they've been planning this for at least 2 years. So, at the very least.
Well, we can at least say that from the reports we heard, about a month ago, they've been in talks for a couple of weeks or so prior to that. So we know this has been going on since sometime this summer or earlier.
Yeah,
at least
these things don't happen overnight. I'm thinking at least this has been a couple years in the making. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. They've been tired of trying to negotiate things around the Marvel Universe with Fox. They've had to deal with them over this Star Wars issue. If Disney really is serious about creating their own streaming service, and we've said it a million times, but it's still true, of all the companies and all the catalogs to get your hands on, Fox is the one to do it because it made the most sense for Disney in the long run. And we'll, of course, get into this more so on the roundtable. Yeah, anyway.
Mitchell Martinez, Sony Pictures has to be running on fumes, right? How much longer will it be before they have to sell Spider-Man to save themselves? Or does Venom just need to bomb for them to learn their lesson? Sony Pictures really isn't going to go anywhere.
Well, they had a pretty good year between stuff like Baby Driver and, of course, Spider-Man. But speaking of Spider-Man, as far as selling him, could come a time where Marvel will just give them a big enough check to end all this nonsense. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. I don't think Sony's going to let their death grip go on Spidey. As far as a whole, though, they're not in dire straits like they were as bad as, say, a year ago. And I think they were just trying to, play like they're in better shape than they are with the whole making like they were going to try and buy Fox kind of thing. Trying to save face.
Yeah.
I really don't think they had any way, shape, or form of being able to afford.
And just because a movie bombs doesn't mean it doesn't make money for them, because they get a tax write-off on that.
Certain things.
Yeah, they can. It's called a write-down, and it's like there was that movie, The Producers, where Mel Brooks movie, where they wanted to take out an insurance policy on.
Well, they figured out that a flop makes more money than a hit.
Yeah, so they try to come up with the worst possible idea, Springtime for Hitler, but it turned out to be a huge hit. So.
And it's kind of the way it does work in Hollywood, and I'm sure this is something that's for an entire complete roundtable or podcast as far as which we do kind of cover more or less here at Midnight's Edge, which is the corporate side of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you ask any studio, no movie ever made money in the history of Hollywood, ever.
No. And again, there's another situation. Don't forget that Sony does more things than just movies. I mean, and PlayStation. Sony Music, Sony Pictures Television. When you watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune at night, that's a Sony production.
What does Disney do if they hit Star Wars fatigue on the Rian Johnson movies? Well, this is actually funny that Larry Bernard gave us this question, is because I was thinking of this earlier too, is Last Jedi's doing well financially right now, but it's not getting a very good rating as far as the audience goes. Now, I'm not sure if this is just a loud majority who are getting out there and voicing their opinions and downvoting this movie to a point to where it's down so low, or if it's just the movie. Yeah, is that bad? I don't know.
No, I'm thinking there's a lot of DC fans out there who are getting back at Disney for Justice League being a bomb.
Right. Well, you have that plus the EU fans who are very anti-Disney being involved with Star Wars altogether. And but I do have to say there are a few things I do have an issue with in the film. And I'm not going to discuss them now because I'm sure there's a ton of you out there who haven't got a chance to see the film yet, including Rob. So we'll discuss that on an upcoming roundtable. But I did kind of wonder if this will make Disney kind of get cold feet with Rian Johnson on a trilogy. But it's doing well financially, so I don't think that's going to matter.
Larry Bernard, again, what does Disney do if after the returning Fox characters get into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they hit superhero fatigue? There is no superhero fatigue. There is only DC. There is only bad movie fatigue.
You almost said DC fatigue there, and that's pretty much true. Because outside of a few bad X-Men movies, most comic book movies have fared pretty well. And I think in a way Disney's kind of heading off superhero fatigue with this. Because in this sense, yeah, there'll be maybe a couple less superhero movies a year, and Andre brings this up in his editorial, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the roundtable, but the quality that we get going forward from these Marvel movies that would normally have been released by Fox in an alternate universe that Fox wasn't bought by Disney will hopefully be of better quality since Kevin Feige is overseeing them. They will be integrated with the MCU. And at the same time, like I said, the quality factor will be there, and they're cutting off the chances of a superhero fatigue by limiting the number of superhero films. So instead of getting 3 movies a year from Fox and 3 movies a year from Disney, now we'll probably get about 4 or 5 movies at the most instead. Probably 4 at the most, I bet.
I don't have any more to add to that, so...
Well, like I said, that's something we'll definitely get into later on. So thanks for the questions, guys. And Rob, tell them how they can support the channel if they do enjoy what we do here.
Well, they can support the channel by clicking subscribe and clicking the bell icon. That way they're notified of all the latest content. And if you really like the channel, you can support us through Patreon. Patreon supporters will get all kinds of bonuses. You'll also get advanced notices of mini documentaries. You'll get exclusive behind the edge making of videos. You'll hear this untold story of how Midnight's Edge came to be, and you'll get outtakes, bloopers, lost episodes, all kinds of stuff. The complete uncut audio to the Alien mini documentary. And yes, I keep mentioning that because that was hard for me to record, damn it. So, but if you don't have the means to support us through Patreon, then please click the subscribe button and share with all your friends, because we cannot do this without you. Isn't that right, Tom?
Indeedy do. So yeah, definitely it's cool because you get editorials and mini documentaries, the audio for those a little early. Sometimes they're a little bit longer than the versions that do get released, like Rob said. So check that out, guys. That definitely helps us out a lot, especially with the way things are right now at YouTube. Hope to see you guys then on which would be our Monday recorded show. So Rob, take us out.
One more time for myself, Rob Robot Shlomo, your Narrator Supreme, from Shabby Road Studios, and you are
Tom Connors,
and we will catch you next time.